around the NBA, we have Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer going to. Why is that not on scroll? I'm messing up today. Jaden Springer going to the Boston Celtics. Xavier Tillman, I thought that was a good pickup for the Boston Celtics, especially looking for a big man. He's a little bit undersized, but can play in that role of Al Horford a little bit in terms of just being a reliable big on the back end side. And especially when we were trying to figure out if we're going to play Luke Cornett and Quinta for the Boston Celtics. Xavier Tillman is a younger prospect, so that we can potentially sign in the offseason as well as looking at him, what he did last year against the Lakers, playing against those guys in the playoffs, filling in for Adams and Clark. He played really well in that series and had some big games. So maybe the Celtics were just looking for a little bit more experience, a little bit more on track, depending on what the numbers are. I think that would be good for the Boston Celtics going forward. Adding him, Jaden Springer, a nice, I believe, a couple-year pro from Philadelphia, brings a lot of energy, a lot of defensive ability, has some bounce to him. And I think they were just looking for an upgrade over Jordan Walsh here, who they kind of do the same things. They're looking for that versatility defensively, but Jaden Springer just has a little bit more energy and probably a little bit more chance to get on the floor. So that's from that aspect. So I like that trade for the Boston Celtics. Also looking around, the Suns get Royce O'Neal and Isaiah Roddy in two separate deals with the Suns and Grizzlies, really adding some defensive depth to their roster and some guys that they desperately needed for their roster. You can't be looking at Bol and these other guys here. You need somebody that's going to be able to play those wing defenders, especially in those lineups of Beal, Booker, Durant. You're going to need somebody to kind of shoot the three and play defense, and Royce O'Neal does that. Isaiah Roddy's a big body, can play power forward, can play small man big. So you got some guys there that can help out the Suns potentially that I like. So that's pretty good for them. Also looking at the Nets getting Dennis Schroeder in a trade with Toronto for Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie was already bought out by Toronto and signing with Los Angeles Lakers after visiting the Dallas Mavericks. He was at the Lakers and Pelicans game last night and officially signed. So he'll be going to LA. The Bucks getting Patrick Beverley, as we found out from Patrick Beverley on his podcast. Getting traded for Cameron Payne. Obviously, just a switch in terms of the Bucks desperately needing some defense in that perimeter to shore up things right before the playoffs. So hopefully they're looking to do that. I believe he was coached by Doc a couple years ago, Patrick Beverley. So they have some history together. So Doc likes to get guys that played for him in the past. Cameron Payne moving to the Philadelphia 76ers, looking at it from that aspect, and especially positioning themselves. They absolutely traded Daniel House away. I forgot what team that was, but they did trade him and potentially looking to sign Kyle Lowry, homecoming for Kyle Lowry to Philadelphia. So everything coming full circle for Kyle Lowry, who got traded from the Miami Heat to the Charlotte Hornets and got bought out. So he will be going to the Philadelphia 76ers, as well as the Toronto Raptors getting Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji from the Utah Jazz there. So basically getting a flyer on our Ochai Agbaji, who's a guard. They can use him going forward and rebuilding. Kelly Olynyk can provide some spacing for the guys that is there. I think it's an okay move. I don't like them giving up a first-round pick, but they did what they needed to do to get the guys that they wanted. So that's looking at the trade deadline. I think the Knicks and Mavs and OKC did some good things. I think Charlotte did some good things in terms of rebuilding and finally heading in that direction. Looking at other teams, I'm confused by Chicago. Alex Caruso wasn't traded. DeMar DeRozan wasn't traded. Just some missed opportunities there. I feel like Alex Caruso would have at least garnered you some picks. DeMar DeRozan would have garnered you some picks if you needed, but he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Most likely putting yourself in a position to pay him and Zach LaVine and just tie up your cap space. I don't get what they're doing. I don't get what Chicago's doing at all. Zach LaVine got hurt, of course. That sucked. It looks like they were trying to trade him to Detroit or trade him somewhere. And just looking at it from that aspect, it's like Chicago, since Lonzo Ball got hurt, they have just been in quicksand. And I don't understand what that organization is doing. I don't understand what they're trying to push for. They're currently ninth in the playoff race. And it's like, what are you doing or trying to do going forward? Obviously, I know they've been trying to make the playoffs every year. They're not one of those teams, kind of like Indiana. They're not trying to be in the lottery. They're not trying to take a step back. They're not trying to do that. But this is the time to do that. This is the time to do that if you're Chicago. So I'm just disappointed about them. The Los Angeles Lakers did not make any trades. What everybody was talking about, trading D'Lo, Austin Reeves, getting DeJounte Murray, getting all these other guys. And nothing came to fruition for them, as they just didn't see anything worth giving up in terms of Austin Reeves and D'Lo at this point in time. And waiting to the offseason to really make some moves, get some more draft capital that they could trade if they were going to potentially make moves or make other moves, do something else. But those two teams, I'm just confused by. The Lakers are fine because I didn't really expect them to do anything. But Chicago Bulls, what are you doing? What are you doing? Moving on to NBA All-Star Weekend, but before that,